Welcome to this edition of Cops Corner. I'm Officer James with the Urbana Police Department, and today we're going to talk about school safety here in Urbana. To help me with that, I have our guest, Don Owen, and you are the superintendent, correct?
That's correct.
Of our school district?
Yes, I am.
All right, well, welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely, thank you. So, okay, I know that we have a lot of things going on with our youth. You know, the time's changing. We have all these sporting events. You know, we have a lot of traffic around the schools. Can you talk about some of the things that we're doing?
Yeah, sure. So obviously for me, when we talk about school safety, the first thing that I think about is getting to and from school. And that's a big one because we have, 4,000 students that are going to and from school, either by car, bus, bike, or by foot every day. And so it's really important to not only teach the kids, but also teach the adults in the community, even if they're not the ones driving to and from school, but driving past the schools, about the fact that kids are going to be crossing. And it's important to be very aware of crosswalks, to make sure that the kids are using crosswalks safely, that they're listening to the crossing guards that we have. The city and the police provide crossing guards, and then we also provide some support around middle school and high school campus for some additional supervision during the before and after school times. But I think that those are the biggest, most important things is being very aware of those school zones and making sure that that as you're driving by the schools, you're slowing down, you're watching for kids who might be coming out in between cars, might be jumping into a crosswalk unexpectedly. Really slow down and take it easy. And then when it comes to dropping off and picking up, we've made some changes around the schools recently. Thomas Paine is our big one, where we actually redesigned the entire driveway parking lot area for a better drop-off situation, so that kids are getting off curbside now and they're not crossing traffic. And that's an important one, that when you don't want to have a kid jumping out of the street side of a car and then having to make their way around a car, you want them getting out as close to the curb as possible. And so we made some changes at Thomas Paine, and last year we made some changes at Wiley to allow for that. And we're looking at ways of doing that with the other buildings. We work very closely with the Traffic Commission, with Urbana Police to do that too.
Okay. Now Wiley specifically, I know that it's a one-way at certain times of the day there on, what is it, Anderson?
Anderson, yeah.
Yeah, in between that stretch, it's a one-way between the start time of school and then a certain period close to the exit time.
It's about a 45-minute window at the beginning of the school day, and then we open it up again during the school day. But then at the end of the school day, we do it a one-way, and it's just northbound. And the reason for that is we didn't want to have traffic going both ways on that street when people were trying to back in and out of,
it's dangerous.
of those perpendicular spots there. And we also wanted to encourage more people to use the pull-up right along the sidewalk there. And that's contributed to a lot smoother drop-off and pickup situation at Wiley, which we're really happy about. Wiley is interesting because it has that big front yard, so you can't get too close to the school, but that allows for a little bit safer flow of traffic.
Absolutely. So now that we're getting closer to this time change, right? You have the football games, starting around 7, but it starts getting darker a lot sooner than that. What are we doing?
So the big thing, and this is one that's I'm always concerned about, but around the middle school, high school campus, and when we get to that time change and it starts to get dark around 5 o'clock, we have the splash program getting out at 5:30, and some of those kids are picked up at 5:45. Some of the kids are walking across Vine Street to get to the bus stop at Fairlawn after it's dark. It's also after school hours, and there's a lot more traffic going there. And so we're actually working with the Traffic Commission about ways of improving lighting and possibly the crosswalk signage at that particular intersection. But then also just asking all of the people in the community to be very aware that we have basketball practice, we have volleyball practice, we have the winter sports starting up, which means kids are going to be coming back to school. And some of them are getting off at that bus stop, walking across that intersection to get over to the high school. And there are events going on almost every day of the week at the middle school or high school, throughout the fall and winter. And so it is going to be very, very important, and working with the Traffic Commission and the police department to bring more visibility to that intersection is one of my goals.
Right. So as far as from the police standpoint, the legal, the school zone signage, you know, the law states, you know, while students are present,
Yep.
that it's a 20 mile an hour within that school zone. I've had citizens ask me, well, what about, you know, after school or when they're actually in class and not out there? Well, I personally would say stay within that school zone, because you never know when a kid may be in a rush. You know, sometimes their mind is not as developed as everybody, as the drivers, and they may be focused on getting across that street and dart out.
Yep.
It's our responsibility as drivers to be vigilant and pay attention. You know, slow down. I understand we're in a rush. Leave a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
You know, on the school bus thing. You know, kids coming back for swim meets and things like that. We know we would love to say every kid's going to have a reflective item on or a bright color, but that's just not our reality of society. You know, some kids are going to have dark clothing. Right. You know, and the light from your car may not catch it until it's almost too late. Yeah. So make sure, you know, my public, make sure that we are being vigilant and slowing down in those school zones anytime that any type of event may be going on, even if it's not during school hours.
Yeah, and you talk about reflective clothing. I can't speak enough to that, you know, when it gets dark, you might have a cross-country team out there, you know, training, and they're making their way back to campus after it's dark. And having that reflective clothing on is very important. And I know that a lot of backpacks now have a reflective stripe across the back. You know, those are good things to look for as a parent, because it helps your kid be more visible to a car that sometimes, you know, like you said, sometimes you just can't see them.
Yeah, you just can't see them until it's too late.
Yeah.
You were mentioning earlier about something MTD was doing.
Yeah, so MTD has they call it the Be Seen campaign, and they have it on a lot of the sides of the buses, and it's a big yellow bumblebee, and it's about bringing awareness to wearing light-colored clothing, wearing lights on your bike. Right. That's one that you know. Just the other day, I was leaving home to go to something on campus, and it was around 8 o'clock at night, and I was driving down a street in Urbana, and a biker came, no reflection, no lights on their bike, and it was like they were invisible. And luckily, I was driving slowly enough that I saw the movement, and I realized there was a biker in front of me, and I stopped and let them go ahead. But the Be Seen campaign that MTD does is great, because they're encouraging people. They work with the local bike clubs to get bike lights on people's bikes, and I think that's a great effort.
Because a lot of our students ride bikes to school, correct?
Yes, especially at middle school and high school. A lot of our students are riding bikes to school. We've actually had to add new bike racks, which is kind of a nice thing. It means more students are biking to school rather than driving themselves or getting driven to school. But that also means that there are more bikers out there on the streets, and they have to. We're doing our best to teach them about bicycle safety, but we also ask all the drivers to be very cognizant of when a biker's there. You know, they might do something that you don't expect.
Absolutely. So. You have the police department come out to your middle schools and talk about, you know, gun safety, and you know, they don't call it stranger danger anymore, but they used to call it stranger danger. And you know, bike, bus safety. We talk about that stuff as well. So that's another initiative that you guys put forward.
And part of Risk Watch brings that down all the way to elementary schools, where the police are part of the Risk Watch program that is a partnership with Carl and some of the other local agencies to talk about safety issues in general, not just at school, but out at home, in the community, walking to and from school. You talk about the danger stranger. We always ask people to report to the police and to the school if they ever sense something is not right, or they feel like someone approached them inappropriately. We always ask them to report both to the police and to the school. And on our website, we have kind of the helpful hints and tips about that. And we also have on our website all of the safe routes to schools, so you can download a map and see, hey, this is where I live. This is what the Safe Routes to Schools project says is the safest route for me, that I'll hit more stop signs and controlled intersections and crossing guards. And so take a look at those maps if your child is walking to or from school.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's some great information. So we've covered a lot of information in a short amount of time
Yeah.
as far as the schools are concerned. Is there anything that we didn't cover that you can think of? That
Well, you know, the other question that we get a lot is about school resource officers.
Yes.
And we're very lucky and fortunate that the city sponsors a part-time school resource officer, Officer Bain, who works primarily at our high school, but he also is kind of our first point of contact when things come up. It's very helpful because if there's something that's happening in the community that involves youth,
Right.
it's nice to have someone there who has a relationship with the youth, who can talk to them, and then can provide guidance to them, but also information back to the police department
Right.
to make sure that our community is a safe community to live in. And the relationship that the school resource officer has with our staff and with the students is very valuable, and we've found it to be a very beneficial program.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we both, Champaign and Urbana, have that type of program
Right.
within. The good thing about that is, just to piggyback on that, is with us having an officer in there, we're able to, sometimes the issues spill over
Right.
to after school
Yeah.
and over into the community.
Yep.
And it's, you guys, you know, once you're off, you like to be off, go have dinner,
Right.
and we're always on duty, and information can be relayed to us so we can kind of try to address the issue and nip some type of our issues in the bud.
Right, yeah, and that's exactly it. That issue of prevention is really important because sometimes it goes the other way too. Sometimes it's something that happens on the weekend
Right.
that then
It
comes
spills
into
over into the school, absolutely.
And so it's really important. That prevention is great because that communication is really important to say, okay, so let's bring the students in and talk to them and work with them in a restorative circle before something happens where they're going to get in trouble either at school or out in the community. And out in the community, it might turn into a law enforcement issue.
Right.
And the last thing we want to see is, you know, have our students get involved on the wrong side of a law enforcement issue. So that prevention is really important and very beneficial, I think, to the students as well as to our two organizations.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Better to be an educational moment
Right.
instead of a punishment type
Exactly.
moment.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah. So, is there anything else that you can think of?
No, I think we covered a lot of ground. So I appreciate you having me on. It's really an
Absolutely.
honor, and I hope to come back.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, this will wrap up this edition of Cops Corner. If you do have any questions about anything we talked about today, you can email me at the email below, and I can address it at another Cops Corner episode, or if you have other topics that you'd like to have addressed, also contact me at that email below. As always, thanks for watching. Be safe.
Yeah,